Now it's the time to fight back. I would say also from those countries that officially do not give any support. But there are over 40 other countries all around the world that have been doing so. Hi, here is Markku Wilenius, your traveling futurist, here in Venice. Italy, where Venice these days belongs to, is one of those countries that have been supporting Ukraine in their cause to fight back Russians. But there are over 40 other countries all around the world that have been doing so. So which are those countries? I would like to start by stating that those countries that back in the day when there was Soviet Union were suppressed by the Soviet Union, in other words, Russians. And those countries, including the Baltic countries, including the Poland, Slovakia, and so forth, many of those countries, not all of them, but most of them, have been the ones that have been on the forefront of backing Ukraine and fighting against the dominance of Russia, because they have in their own memory what was it to be repressed. Now, then there are other countries, like Nordic countries, like Finland, where I come from, that also have had a lot of past relationship with Russians. The Finns have been fighting against Russians so many times that you almost cannot calculate that. But also the other Nordic countries have had their repercussions of this. So they also fully understand that, okay, now it's the time to fight back this Russian current regime that tries to expand. But then there are also other European countries that have had most of them quite close commercial ties to Russia, while on the other hand, they also have their memories from the Second World War. And those countries like Germany, France, Italy, Netherlands, Portugal, and others, they have been also gearing towards supporting Ukraine for the cause. Then there is the United Kingdom that has been very much up front, also supporting Ukraine. And with United States, they have been perhaps the most proponent and most remarkably supporting of the Ukrainian cause. But then we can also go beyond that and see that countries like Australia and Japan, being the part of the OECD, have also seen that it's their responsibility to support Ukraine. So altogether, this comprises close to 45 countries in the world supporting concretely and in a tangible way the cause of Ukraine. So what have been the ways that Ukraine gets supported? Of course, the lowest barrier is to give some humanitarian aid. And the number of those countries that have given some kind of aid might be even much more bigger than just the 45, because they have been doing some joint efforts there. But humanitarian courses is the one type of the course that everybody understands. There is a lot of people on the battlefield, a lot of people whose homes have been destroyed with the war, and so forth and so on. So humanitarian causes have been essential. But then the others, well, of course, weapons, training, all that kind of a hardware, that kind of a strong stuff. And those countries that have given particularly large amount of the weaponry are those countries that have experienced themselves in the past to be a part of the Russian expansionist policy in an unfortunate way, let's put it this way. Then there are also countries that have helped, for instance, in bringing up some intelligent information from the satellites and giving all other kinds of the support for Ukraine to maintain food, shelter, all that type of stuff. And altogether, there is a massive amount of the support that has been given to the Ukraine. Now, one way to think about this is that when the country is at war involuntarily, that means that a lot of people get very much sort of distressed by the fact that they have been diverted from their usual day-to-day life, which is exactly what has happened in Ukraine. So people have suffered because they think that they have done nothing to cause this war, but somebody is imposing that on them, which means that there is a lot of empathy that goes around this whole case of Ukraine. I would say also from those countries that officially do not give any support. Countries like Arab states, for instance, that have not given much concrete support, but where there are lots of people that are probably praying for Ukrainians or trying to help in their own little ways the cause of Ukrainian defense and the sense of integrity in these hard times. This is one of the paradoxes of the war, that when something like this breaks out, it causes actually somewhere else the empathy, the feelings, and the support for those ones that have been, without their own cause, dragged into this kind of a situation, that there is a lot of empathy, there is a lot of support, there is a lot of good thoughts for them. And so that is also something that always happens in this type of the situations that might also create a new awareness why we should not have wars in the future. Because this is the critical thing. When we think about the Ukraine, we think about the world. This has becoming a world issue, not just a regional issue, not just a territorial issue between the Russia and Ukraine. This is an issue that everybody deals in this world, whether they want or not, because it affects one way or another, direct or indirect, to anybody. And as such, it creates this new type of global consciousness about how do we actually deal with this kind of a situation. And those countries that are brave enough to actually to go and give their support to Ukraine for moral or other causes are the ones that actually, by showing this, also show the possibility for us to humanize our world, to be empathetic, and to grow ourselves as human beings. And that is the promise out there. The fact that we have almost 1/4 of the countries in this world to support the cause of Ukraine will actually mean that after the war, when there is a rebuilding of Ukraine, this is going to be the type of the global project that we have probably never seen before. Because when this phase starts to come out, there would be much more than those 45 countries. There would be most of the countries in the world somehow involved with this. And why I'm saying so? Because first of all, it's going to be a massive project. Secondly, even the poor countries can give something in this rebuilding of Ukraine. And when this is going to happen, there is an effort to actually to combine the forces of the good, so to say, to build something, makes this whole world anew. That there is a cause which is very clear, and there is also a recognition that we should never let this thing happen again, which actually sends the message, international system, that we should have measures good enough to prevent this type of events from ever taking place. And this could happen if there is a joint effort by the global community, maybe leveraged by United Nations, or if not in United Nations, then with some other organization, to prevent this type of terrible things from happening and helping us to safeguard the peace around the world. Subscribe to my channel and see other related videos where you can hopefully learn more about the future.